Good morning, Patrick Gray. I'd like to make an offer on the vacant Dunkin that you have listed on Crexie on Memorial Drive in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We talked a little over a week ago over the phone. I've been researching the market. I've got a really good friend who lives very close to here. He knows this shop. He knows this retail corridor. I've done a bunch of deals with him over time. He could be my boots on the ground locally for this property. I know a couple different tenants I think would go really well into this shop, looking at the traffic, looking at what the neighboring shops are doing in the area. So as a part of this offer, I would like to ask for some time to talk to the tenants that I believe go into this shop and get it confirmed up with them that they really want to use this shop and go for it going forward. And then I'd like to come back to you and close with you and take the shop from there. So please take a look at the offer that I have. The price and terms are in there, asking for some time for me to work with the tenants that I know that I've worked with before that I believe will want to use this shop going forward. This video is a little bit more about it. My name's Luke Smith. I'm passionate about real estate and doing real estate deals. I've bought and sold properties all over the country in lots of different ways. You can look me up in county records in lots of places and lots of Oklahoma counties. I've traded properties in lots of different parts of Oklahoma over many years, as well as other states. This property caught my eye because I was following tracks in the mud. I was following tracks of shops that generally co-tenant with shops that I'm working on deals with. And when those shops that co-tenant with those other shops are doing really well, generally the shops that I want to find new locations for do really well next to those shops. And so this market lit up and I was looking at for a particular brand that I'm looking for to place, and it had really good numbers going on here and the traffic and demographics were speaking to me. So it's a statistical play looking at what was there in the market, and this property was listed with the right footprint for what I'm looking for. And so I started reaching out, asking more. I love to do that kind of data to find locations for tenants and put the numbers together and finance them, make it really easy for the tenants to move into a shop like this. Change the color, change the brand, change what they need changing to make it really easy for them to have their new location here. I study those brands. I work with multiple different people on those kinds of properties and those kinds of projects. I fell into those kinds of properties by accident. I was buying vacant land. Like I've bought hundreds of thousands of vacant properties across the country, usually sending letters. I send a letter in the mail that says, I'd like to buy your land, and give them cash offer. Some of the people get back to me and want to sell their land. I buy those properties and I figure out how to fix them, figure out if they need a new access routes or septic or wells or driveways or whatever I could do to try to improve those properties and offer them up to people who want to put their house there or whatever it is they want to do with it and sell those properties. And as a part of doing that, I got into multiple portfolios of properties that people wanted to sell. And one of the portfolios had a particular property in it that was a lot like this. It was a high traffic retail property and it was a vacant property. And it used to have an office building on it, but it didn't fit the neighborhood. It looked like a drive-through shop belonged there. And it was on the corner. There was a bunch of traffic going by. And I knew I couldn't just go sell that thing for like a house goes here numbers that I was used to. And so I started studying and I started figuring what drive-through shops could go there. And eventually sold that property. I started posting it up for sale all over the place through multiple different brokers. I went through iterations of different brokers and lots of different marketing campaigns of my own. I still had a hard time selling that property because I didn't have a tenant that was going to use that property. I didn't know the highest and best use for it going forward. And as soon as I figured that out, lots of people started showing up and wanted the property. And so I'm telling you the story because it's an example of this vacant Dunkin. We don't have the tenant going forward. To ask for a top dollar price for a property like this, sure, you've got income coming in from the property for another 12 plus years or so, and you could just base it off of that. But to really make it work, it needs the future tenant, the tenant that's going to take care of this, that's going to pay taxes, that's going to keep up with maintenance, that's going to make it sing and make it theirs. They're going to love it and take care of it going forward. They're going to look at the neighbors and they're going to say $13,000 a year. And they're going to go fight those taxes and bring them down to something more reasonable. That tenant that cares, that's going to be there for a long time and it matters to them to make things like that happen. So when we find a tenant like that, the grease in the gears starts to work and then the deals flow. And so that's why I'm asking for some time. I'm asking for some time to work with those tenants that I know should go here and get them to go here. And then I'll buy the property from you and I can go make it happen from there. But in the meantime, trying to sell a vacant building is a lot harder than it looks, or a vacant property. And so My solution is adding a tenant and it solves the problem. I've done that in multiple properties, other properties, especially vacant properties along the way. And usually other people start making cash offers like that. Tenants, other landlords just come in the side door, the nameless, faceless organizations that show up with a bag of cash and take off the properties. Really short closes. But those deals, in my experience, don't happen without that tenant being there, shopping it, understanding it. And so I come in and I present it to those tenants. I reach those tenants. I talk to those tenants. I've worked with those tenants and I show them the numbers. I show them the data. I show them the biz plan for how much business they could do in a location like this based off of how much business the neighbors or like kinds of properties like Dunkin for coffee shops, other coffee shops in the area like Ziggy's and it's just up the road or others that how much business are they doing? Their coffee shop should do this kind of business here. Or sandwich shops. There's a Firehouse Subs across the street. How much business is that Firehouse Subs doing compared to how much could a Jersey Mike's or a Jimmy John's or a Penn Station or lots of other sub shops could do in a location like this? If you're watching this video from another angle and you're asking yourself, or you're asking me, Luke, how do I do that kind of data? How do I find that kind of information? How do I talk to those tenants? How do I put the tenants together with my vacant? Feel free to take a look at the link in the description of this video on YouTube. That link will take you back to my free community. It's on the internet. We've got a lot of like-minded people that care about finding tenants for properties like this. And we talk back and forth and we learn from each other. We share information. I do these live calls pretty regularly. Look at the schedule on there and you can sign up for my next calls. And we do a lot of live question and answer and educational sessions. And I learn a lot from these. I teach and people ask questions and I learn from those questions. So I would love it if you showed up to those and just listen, learn, soak it in. Maybe you have some great questions. If you've got questions, that'd be amazing too. So feel free to go to that link and chime in there, either on the discussion board or in the live calls. If you're interested in owning these kinds of properties that pay rent for a good long time, lots of times 10, 15-year leases or more, and collecting the depreciation off of them, I'm looking for somebody to buy off of me or invest along with me or share parts of with me. I'm open to those kinds of deals too. Please take a look at my contact information is on my website, ruralvacantland.com, and reach out to me. Just pick up the phone or give me an email or however you like to communicate. And we could talk about different properties that you might want to invest in these alongside me or buy the things outright, take off with them. I don't have the cost of capital to keep up with all the different properties that I'm working on. This particular property, I've got proof of funds ready to go to pay for this property. So not to pay for this property, but ones that are already figured out and going and fixed and ready to collect rent for a long time into the future. I'm looking for help with those properties. Either way, thanks for listening. It's Luke Smith, ruralvacantland.com. See you in the next one. Bye.